Hello students, welcome back. So in our today's video, we shall be studying about our fourth module, which is compensation and performance management. So let's first have a look at what do you understand by compensation exactly. So it's nothing but what the wages or the salaries that are paid. Now, apart from wages and salaries, you also have incentives like the commissions and all those things, also which forms a part of compensation. So here you see there is something known as what are the components of remuneration. So you can classify remuneration into two components. One is the cash compensation and another one is the fringe compensation. So what we understand by cash compensation is it is the one of the components of cash compensation is the base pay. So what is a base pay? Base pay is nothing but the wages or the salaries that are drawn. Wages are those which are paid to the blue collared workers for whom it is paid on an hourly basis, or it may be paid on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Salaries, on the other hand, are paid on a monthly basis. And you have the second component related to cash compensation, which is performance-based pay. It can also be called as pay for performance. So one example of a performance-based pay is a salesman earning commission on his sales. More number of products that he sells, the higher the commission they will be earning. Uh, we will be studying more about performance-based pay in a few slides from now on. Now have a look at something called as fringe compensation, what is there towards your right hand side. So fringe compensation is the non-cash benefits what are provided to the employee. So you have, and again, they can be either those that are mandatory, which the company has to provide for the employee, or it can also be optional programs. So here you have something known as earned leave. And you also have the concept of maternity leave. So earned leave, normally employees will be credited with somewhere about around 12 to 15 earned leaves per year, depending upon the company. And how the earned leaves work is that either they can go on leave for which they will be paid. So their salaries will not be cut. They will not go on a loss of pay. Although they are staying at home, they will be paid for it. On the other hand, they also have an option of encashing their earned leaves. So at the end of the year, supposing they are having somewhere about 12 earned leaves to their credit, they can always what is their what is the amount that they earn per day will be calculated, and accordingly that 12 into the salary that they are earning per day, the calculated salary per day will be multiplied, and that amount can be credited to the employee's account. So this way they can encash their earned leave. Or let's say there are totally 12 earned leaves for the employee. Out of those 12 earned leaves, he or she has availed 3 earned leaves, and the remaining 9 earned leaves are to be encashed. So accordingly, the 9 earned leaves into the salary what they are likely to receive per day, that will be the amount of earned leaves which is encashed, which is credited to their account. So yeah, it can be partly seen as a cash compensation also, but yeah, you can see it as a fringe compensation in case you do not plan to encash it. Then maternity leaves, we all know what is the rules regarding the maternity leaves these days. So it is for almost a span of 6 months, maternity leaves are to be provided for the lady uh, for the first child as well as for the second child. Then you have optional programs, which forms a part of fringe compensation. So these can be things like providing transport to the employees. Some companies will provide, some companies will not provide transport to the employees. Then you can also include things like medical insurance, which the company is sponsoring, and tuition fee reimbursement, the employees' children's school fees and all those things. Some companies, they reimburse those school fees and thereby benefit the employee. Now, in the previous slide, I had told you people about in cash compensation, there is one component called as performance-based pay. So what are these performance-based rewards and incentives? Performance-based pay, what are the components under performance-based pay? You have merit increase, bonus, individual incentives, and group incentives. So let's have a look at the under individual incentives itself. If you see merit increase and bonus are separate topics. Under individual incentives, if you see, you again have several sub classifications such as a piece rate system, a differential piece rate system, something known as a HALSE plan, 50-50 HALSE plan, and sales incentives. And you have another classification called as group incentives. So under group incentives, you have profit sharing, gain sharing, and employee stock option plans. So I hope this is clear for you people. Just have a look at this once again. So performance-based rewards are merit increase, bonus, individual incentives, and group incentives. Below individual incentives, you have piece rate, differential piece rate, HALSE plan, and sales incentives. Below group incentives, you have profit sharing, gain sharing, and employee stock option plans. Let's have a look at each of these things in detail. Please have a look at merit increase over here. So what we understand by merit increase is that if the employee's performance is good, this will be determined based on another tool known as performance appraisal, which the HR department makes use of. So at the end of an year, the superior or the employee supervisor will evaluate how well the employee has performed over the past 1 year. Based on that, the supervisor will recommend whether he is eligible for an increase in his pay. Normally, what standards many companies adopt is for an average performance which the employee has delivered. Normally, it will be somewhere about 5% to 10%. For those employees who have performed really well, their merit or their increase in their base pay will be maybe even up to 20% also, depending upon how well they have performed. So yeah, and it can be even more than that. It depends from company to company. So, and normally, yeah, most of the employees of companies, they do tend to get a raise in their salary at the end of every year. So with regards to merit increase, again, there are some things which the superior has to be careful about. See, I had told you people about something known as performance appraisal. You're evaluating how well the employee has performed over the past 1 year. Depending on that, the superior is deciding how much to increase their pay. They will recommend how much to increase their pay. And as I had already told you, that percentage of increase will be on the base of their salary. A person who's drawing around 35,000 per month, a 10% increase means from now on, their salary is going to be 35,000 plus 3,500. It will be 38,500 from now on every month. So this is how it works. If they are getting a 20% increase, it is going to be 35,000 plus 6,000. Which will come to 41,000. So from now on, his salary is going to be 41,000 per month. This is how merit increase works based on performance appraisal. So as I had told you, a superior has to exert some caution over here. So they have to be careful on certain issues. Now, while doing performance appraisal, there is something known as leniency bias which can come into the picture. So I'll tell you what exactly is leniency bias. A person, an employee whose performance is not that good, they are also getting a rating of, let us say out of 5, they are getting a rating of somewhere about 3. A person who has done extremely well in their performance is also getting a rating of somewhere about 3.5 out of 5. This is what is leniency bias. So it is a situation, normally it happens when the superior who is rating is not having sufficient experience or is quite an inexperienced person when it comes to conducting performance appraisal. So they may want to take shortcuts also over here. So they may not want to put too much hard work in trying to evaluate who has exactly done well and who has exactly not done well. So in order to do this shortcut, what the superior may do is more or less on an average, they will give more or less the same rating to everybody, irrespective of how well or how bad the performance has been. Now, you people can also imagine such a situation. Now, for students, a student who is regularly attending class, a student who is regularly submitting their assignments, if you give a 10-page assignment, the student is doing all the 10 pages for that assignment. Such a student is, let us say, getting somewhere about uh, 25 on 30 in their internals. Now, on the other hand, there is another student who's very irregular to class, who does not submit any of the assignments, who does not perform all that well in their examinations, their internal examinations. Such a student is getting 23 out of 30. So you can imagine, if you're in that scenario, how you would feel. So what happens out of this case is, a average performing person gets 23 out of 30 and an extremely well performing person gets only 25 out of 30. It's a very marginal number with which they are slightly better than the other person. So it will tend to demotivate good performers. What will good performers, even good students, what they will think? They will think, if I put so much hard work, I'm getting 25 out of 30. If I do not put any hard work at all, I'm still getting 23 out of 30. They will start evaluating the results compared to how much work you're putting into it. So it may tend to demotivate the performance of, like how students are going through the situation. Even employees will also go through the same situation. If a person who's performing very well gets an average rating just the way how others are also getting, a lower performance person is getting, because of which his increase in pay is just somewhere about 5 to 10%, obviously they will not be motivated to work much more harder and perform well for the company. They will just give average performance. So in this way, it can demotivate, and it will also inculcate some amount of laziness among the employees. So all employees will start thinking that, okay, let me just perform in an average way. Let me not go too much out of my way to work hard for the company. So this attitude is quite bad for the company. At the same time, when you're appraising the employee, when it comes to deciding upon their merit increase, you should also be careful here, because too much of differences that can come in ratings, which can ultimately put bad performing employees out of the company. So it will lead to too much of competition among the employees. So employees will start competing for ratings over here. When employees start competing for ratings, there will be a atmosphere of fear. There will be an atmosphere of selfishness among the employees. There may be a lot of politics which starts getting played into the picture. One person may try to put down another person. One person who has not done any work will try to take credit for what another person has done. So all this kind of unhealthy behavior will start developing in the company whenever employees start fighting with each other for, they start competing with each other for ratings. So what can happen over here is, um, the employees may not share information with each other, because they feel if they share information, their ratings will go down and another person's ratings will come up. They may not help out each other. In today's environment, where organizations are all based on the working of teams, working within a team and working with one team and another team, this is not a healthy culture again. So employees have to keep sharing information. It's important that employees help out each other also, so that the level of productivity increases, the level of supervision comes down. For all these reasons, it is quite important that employees have to interact with each other in a healthy way. So a trade-off has to be made over here while uh, appraising a person's performance, based on which they will be given a hike in their salary. You need to make it as objective as possible. You need to make it as countable as possible. See, for example, or you may even put it in a situation where you don't have to ask the superior, the immediate superior, to rate the performance, to avoid the bias and all these things. So one example is for you can probably take in case we are talking about performance appraisal of salesmen, rather than asking the sales manager to appraise the performance of these salesmen, you can take customer feedbacks. So the customers can give feedback relating to how well the salesman was explaining about the functioning of the product, how well he was training the customer, how convincing he was, how polite was he, and how satisfied is the customer with related to the sales attitude of the salesman. So all these things based on customer feedback, you can probably get an idea regarding the performance of that salesman. So this is just an example pertaining to salesmen. So in a way, for other professions also, rather than the immediate superior uh, doing the evaluation of performance, you can ask a third party to evaluate the performance. So in this way, the chances of this leniency bias, what I had told you, it will come down, and it will be in an objective basis altogether. So yeah, for other designations, for salesmen, I said customer feedback can be one way of appraising their performance. For other designations, probably the feedback from a business partner, feedback from the client, all these things can be ways of assessing the performance. Have a look at the second point over here. You have bonuses. Now, what is the difference between merit increase and a bonus? A bonus is because of good performance, it is a lump sum one-time payment which is given to the employee. So it will not happen every year. Probably it will just happen probably once in 3 years or once in 5 years or so, for very good performance of the employee. So it can be just a form of a cash disbursement, what is done to the employee, a cash bonus, or it can just be something which is credited to the employee's account along with their salary. So it can be in the form of a gift, a cash gift, or it can be in the form of just crediting the bonus amount to the employee's account. So the difference between merit increase and bonuses, merit increase means it's a hike in the salary, it's a permanent increase in the pay of that employee. So if from now on, the employee, rather than drawing 35,000 per month, is permanently now going to start drawing 40,000 per month or 45,000 per month in case of a merit increase. However, in case of a bonus, it is just a one-time payment which is done in lump sum. So it can, as I had already told you, it can again take place once in 3 years or once in 5 years, or according to the discretion of the company. Moving on to the, yeah. So please have a look at the third point over here. You have something known as individual incentives. So under individual incentives here, you have piece rate system, you have differential piece rate system, then you have Halsey plan 50/50 and sales incentives. So let's have a look at the first point over here. Over here, you have something called as a piece rate system. Piece rate system, it's easy to understand. This is an incentive plan which is again directly connected to the performance of the employees. The more number of goods that the employee is producing, the more package they will get, the more wage or the more salary they will get. If you're producing 5 units, you will get a certain wage. If you're producing 10 units, you will get more wage. If you're producing 15 units, you will get even more wage. If you're producing only 4 units, you will get less wage. This is how a piece rate system works. So normally, this system of payment is followed in especially the textile and apparel industry. Nike, if I have to take an example, follows a piece rate system. See, I think all of us, many of us should be knowing that Nike does not produce its own shoes. Nike, it just markets the shoes. The production is done by companies, some suppliers who are there in Vietnam or in Indonesia or in Haiti. In the Southeast Asian regions, the suppliers of Nike shoes are there. So Nike takes the shoes from these suppliers and it just affixes its brand and it does the marketing and it sells its shoes. The shoes, then there's sportswear, all these things, Nike follows more or less the same strategy. So these suppliers who are there in Vietnam, when they are paying, they pay again according to what is the wage rate prevalent in their country. For example, in Vietnam, uh, taking the consent of Nike, the decision on the payment to these workers will be decided. So per shoe produced, around 30 cents is the pay in Vietnam. The pay in Indonesia differs. For every shoe produced, the pay is somewhere about 40 to 45 cents. So, and in Haiti, again, it is somewhere about 35 cents. So for every shoe that is produced. So this is a classic example of how a piece rate system is working. Now, piece rate system, again, it's not limited only to, mostly piece rate system is done for the blue collared workers, the ones who are working in the shop floor, the ones who are working in the production line or the assembly line. Piece rate system can also be followed for the slightly higher level workers, the higher level employees. Now, for example, data entry operators can be paid on the basis of a piece rate. See, here you cannot see the goods that are produced. The piece of the good you cannot see, but you can see an output. The more number of data that they are entering and the data that they are processing, the more salary they will be paid. This can also be seen in customer service representatives. The more number of customers they are able to clear their doubts, the more number of customers they are able to answer in a satisfactory manner, the higher their salary will be. And yes, of course, you can also see a piece rate system again when you're speaking about even things, these online question and answer sessions also you might have heard about. You might have heard about companies like checkindia.com and all those things. Even these companies also pay on the basis of the output that is produced. So it's a question and answer session is like where students from foreign countries will post their questions on this website. And if you're qualified enough and you're having sufficient knowledge, you can register in these websites and you can answer their questions. So for each question answered, an amount of, you'll have to give your bank account details to this company. And for each question answered, an amount anywhere between 75 to 200 will be paid to you. But yeah, again, they also have their limitations. I mean, they will check how good quality of answers you're giving. If they feel that on a regular basis, your answer quality is not great, they can delist you. So from then on, you cannot be a part of this question and answer session, and you cannot answer questions to what is posted in that website. So this is, as I had already told you, this is also one example of a piece rate system. So as we see, have a look at the second point. It is where payment is made for each unit that is produced. And very importantly, have a look at the third point, especially when you're speaking about the production line. This system will work out well if you're dealing with repetitive situations. And the output is more or less the same. See, when I'm speaking about Nike, the same design, the same material, the same process, the same shoes over and over again, the employee, the worker is producing. In such case, a piece rate system will work. However, one shoe that he is producing is of one design. The other shoe that he is producing is of another design. Piece rate system may not be justified here because for producing one shoe, the materials used may be less, the color combination may be different, which requires a certain wage. Another shoe, there may be more materials, more number of tasks to be done to finish that shoe. So the wage might be different there. So calculation will become a problem. However, all the shoes that he's producing is of the same color, same material, same design, etc. It will be easy to calculate his output and how much cash he has to pay for that worker. It will be easy. So this is how a piece rate system can be implemented. Another situation where a piece rate system will work well is the worker should have control and there should be minimum interaction. All the control for performing that activity should be in the worker's hands itself. They should have all the tools necessary to perform their activity. Only then they will be able to perform the job well and they will be motivated. Okay, I have all the resources. Let me produce more and more number of shoes. Only then I'll be able to get more and more wages. That attitude will set in them. And there should be minimum interaction between the workers. Unnecessary distractions can happen, because of which they may start fighting with each other. Or in case someone is not sharing information, again, there can be irritation that can come up, because of which they are not able to produce sufficiently. Production will get affected here. Piece rate system works best when worker is having all the control on the work that he's doing and he does not have to depend upon another person for information or doesn't have to interact much with other person for information. However, the disadvantage of a piece rate system is the workers will start setting informal production standards. So what they might do over here is they might start setting their own norms for doing the work, which the management may not accept. I'll give you one example over here. Or they may come up with some good idea to increase the production, some shortcut method they will do to increase the production and sales, but that they may not share with the management because they're scared where the management will scold them. So one example I can give you here, there was one company whose sales representatives were selling baby food. Now, all of a sudden the management noticed that there is a huge increase in the sales of this baby food. So accordingly, the sales commission of these sales representatives also was increasing, of these salespersons was also increasing their commission because the number of sales was so much. Upon further probing, the management understood that these salespeople are not selling all this baby food only to babies. They are also selling it to old people who may not have teeth, because of which they are not able to chew onto the foods, the normal food what people eat properly, because of which they are resorting to eat baby food, because it's easy for them to chew and swallow and to digest also. This is actually quite relevant for the company. This may be quite relevant for the company, this information. So yeah, such an important information has been concealed, has been hidden by the sales representatives to the management. So the management has to keep a control over. See, this situation may be either in the company's favor or it may turn against the favor of the company. But to avoid such situations, the management has to keep a control on it. Then there is the last point of view. See, one more disadvantage of a piece rate system is the salespeople might, sorry, not the salespeople, the workers might again set their own production standards, because they fear where, supposing they as a team produce too many products, they may get scared where because of too much production which is there and too much inventory which is existing, the management will ask them to leave the company, because already there is so much of products. You don't need people to produce more products here. So that one fear may force the employees to cut down their production. Another example is they may be worried where if they increase the production too much, they will be creating an impression to the management that, okay, these people, rather than producing 1 unit, they are capable of producing 10 units. So let us keep that as the new standard. So what happened before here? Before, the standard was for each unit that you are producing, you are paid some amount. You are paid 100 rupees or 200 rupees, let us say, for example. However, when your production increases, it may, workers may fear, where the management will think that, okay, under certain conditions, these people are capable of producing so many products. So let me set the standards to 2 units. So what happens here is, before, for each unit you produce, if you're going to be paid 100 rupees, they may now increase the standard and say that you should produce 2 units to get the same 100 rupees, or you should produce 5 units to get the same 100 rupees. So in such a situation also, workers may fear, where management will take such a decision, and thereby purposefully they will try to keep their production levels low. So I will stop here for with piece rate system in this video. In the next video, I will be speaking to you people about the other individual incentive schemes like differential piece rate, HALSE plan, and sales incentives. Thank you.